First of all, let me explain. I'm from England. I'm a 26-year-old male living in Cambridge. I was born in Yorkshire, North England. Just up the road from where I lived was a place called Oakwell Hall, located in an area called Birkinshaw. Oakwell Hall is a fairly small house compared to some in the UK, but it certainly has local character. Many a day away from school would be spent wandering around the grounds. Local legend has it that the hall was once inhabited by a great local family named the Bats, hence the local town of Batley, and that one of the sons of the family, a womanizer and gambler of no small repute, found himself in a duel fought on the local moors. The servants all knew of this, and so were relieved. The sounds of his horse were heard, re-entering the stables. They were even more relieved when the son was seen walking through the hall, up the stairs, and to his bedchamber. They then made a rather spooky discovery when they noticed a bloody footprint on the staircase. Thinking their master was injured in the duel, they entered his chambers to see if they could help him. He was not there. The bed had not been disturbed. There was no horse in the stable. News was later conveyed that the son had died in the duel, and every Christmas Eve, the same bloody footprint can be seen on the staircase. This is not what I saw. I was 8 years old, and it was the school holidays. Two friends, Stephen and Stuart and myself, were walking through the garden when Stuart noticed one of the windows was blacked out. We noticed it as the sun was behind the house and so should have been shining pretty much through the hall and out the other side. Thinking that there may be something going on, there are occasionally demonstrations in the hall. We entered the building and up the stairs. As we got to the top of the stairs, Stephen remarked he felt a bit funny, and I suddenly felt cold. The next thing we saw was a black blob about a half a meter off the floor and about 1.5 meters tall float out of one door and into another. Stuart asked if anyone else had seen it, and we all said we had. Stuart then started to walk down the corridor very slowly, while Stephen and I stayed at the top of the stairs and were quite scared. Stuart looked around the corner and then ran back to us. We were so scared at this point that we just ran out and down the drive to the gate. Stuart told me later that he saw a figure about 6 foot tall that seemed to be made of shadows. He was dressed in a long coat and wore what looked like a top hat. He seemed to be looking for something, and then it became aware of him. He told me much later, about 10 years later, that it looked over its shoulder at him, and rather than a pair of eyes, it had a single red slit that seemed to pulse. I've been back to the hall since, and seen nothing out of the ordinary. However, I felt very uneasy about certain rooms. Oh well, there you go. I don't know if this qualifies as having a haunting or possession, or if I'm just crazy. I've read several stories on your site, which is great by the way, and haven't come across anything similar to one of my experiences, which I'll tell below. My father is suffering from advanced rheumatoid arthritis, along with hepatitis C. Not a good combination. Anyway, I've been living with the pain of knowing he would be sick and in pain for the rest of his life since I was 16. I'm now 22, and watching him suffer and struggle with his diseases. Because of this, I've become increasingly interested in whether or not there is another phase of existence after we leave this world. I've been asking both mentally and out loud, for some type of proof of this, mostly for my own comfort. Anyway, I've recently been hearing noises that sound like a lot of people talking at once in my house when I'm home alone. It doesn't bother me or scare me, and it's so faint that it could be my imagination. Along with this, I've heard walking on my ceiling. My rooms are in the finished basement. In thinking my fiance was home, went upstairs to greet him, only to find myself still alone in this very house. Since I've been asking for proof, I wonder if it's only my imagination, but this next part was scary. I heard the voices. Sounds like a crowd of people all talking at once, but this time, I wasn't hearing them externally, with my ears, but originating from inside my head. I had this weird feeling that they were all talking directly to me, rather than just overhearing things like the other occasions. Anyway, the voices in my head just kept getting louder and louder, and all of a sudden, I was laughing uncontrollably for no reason. Probably doesn't sound too scary to you, but the whole time I was laughing, about 5 minutes, I was having thoughts like, why am I laughing? Why can't I stop laughing? There's nothing funny about this, and such. I was scared and physically willed myself to stop laughing, which didn't work. The voices started fading after about 5 minutes, and my laughing reduced to giggles, and then to shocked silence. I've never told anyone about these things. I even think I sound crazy. And no, I was not on any mind-altering substances at the time this happened. Has the voices, laughing thing happened to anyone else out there? Or am I just crazy? If this has happened to someone out there, please email me. Okay, I know there are skeptics out there, but my grandmother, my mom, and I are very in tune with our spirits for some reason. I'll start with my grandparents' babysitting ghost. We call him that because only kids could see him if all adults were out of the house. To explain the house a bit, the hallway is L-shaped. There's a bathroom to your immediate right, then 2 bedrooms, bedrooms 1 and 2, on your left. When you turn the corner, there's a bedroom, number 3 on your left, another bathroom on your right, and the last bedroom, number 4, at the end of the hall. My mom's dad was at work, and her mom and all my mom's brothers and sisters were outside, talking to friends and such. My mom was just sitting and watching TV. As my mom was watching TV, she saw something moving out of the corner of her eye and looked down the hallway from the living room. There was a very tiny old man sitting in a rocking chair, reading a book and looking up at her from time to time. She said he just smiled at her and kept rocking and reading. When the adults came back into the house, he disappeared. 2 of my cousins have seen him also. The one thing that totally freaked us out was after my mom and I moved in with my grandparents. My Uncle Kay had died in the first bedroom about a year before. He was really into drinking and drugs, so one night his heart, liver, and kidneys just failed on him. He was the practical joker of the family. Anyhow, my mom and I came home one night. My grandparents were out. We both had to use the bathroom really bad, so my mom ran to the first one, and I went to the second one at the end of the hallway. All of a sudden, I heard my mom yell, "Hey!" I was about to open the door to ask why she was yelling, when I saw a hand open the bathroom door. I hurried up and finished my business and ran to my mom and asked her what happened. Why did she open the door to the bathroom and not tell me what she needed? Then I realized she was still in the bathroom. She said she saw a hand opening her bathroom door. I told her I saw the same thing. We're the only people in this house, and this happened on the opposite ends of the house. She just looked up at the ceiling and said, "Kay, stop scaring us. We don't want to play with you right now. Your jokes aren't funny." We heard the most evil laugh we could imagine. At that point, we looked at each other and ran out of the house. When we came back, my grandparents were home, and we sat my grandma down and told her what happened. She had to have the house blessed 3 times before the spirits went away. I was visiting some relatives in Denton, Texas, in early July of this year when this strange event took place. My relatives live in a trailer park, and some of the trailers are sitting close together. One late night, when I was there, my nephew left his cigarettes in his car, so he went out to get them. I went with him. As we were walking to his car, we noticed that next door, there was someone rummaging around in a trash can that was in the back of the neighbor's truck. We thought nothing of it, thinking it was just one of the neighbors looking for something they threw away. As it was dark near where the vehicles were parked, we couldn't make out who it was. Well, my nephew got his cigarettes out of his car, and we were walking to the front of his trailer, where there is a bench you can sit on. We were walking towards it, when we noticed whoever it was that was walking through the garbage can was now walking up to the next door neighbor's porch, which was a good 20-30 feet from us. For whatever reason, just the sight of the person made both of us freeze, while this figure just stood at the foot of the next door neighbor's porch steps with its back to us. It was almost as if this figure knew we were looking at it, but it wasn't even facing towards us. It just stood there, and we felt that somehow it was looking at us. Somehow. In the light of the porch lights, we could make out the details of this figure. The figure was of a small boy, but what was weird was that his head was shaven on both sides of his head, and in the middle was a blonde mohawk type haircut, except it wasn't the short type, but more of the longer hairstyle mohawk. This kid had 80s style clothes on. The short, multicolored and unbuttoned, light blue shorts and white tennis shoes. This kid just stood there for a few moments and began ascending the next door neighbor's steps in a stiff, awkward way. Its arms were close to its sides, and as it went up the steps, it just continued staring straight ahead, not once looking down or in any other direction. Then, the view of the kid was obstructed by the neighbor's porch, so we could no longer see him. The weird thing is, we never heard the next door neighbor's front door open or anything that would indicate this person went in. My nephew and I, very unnerved and chilled, ran into his parents' trailer. We sat in his living room for a while, trying to rationalize what we had seen. He told me that the neighbors had 2 girls, but looked nothing like what we had seen. We asked my nephew's mother, my sister, if she knew if the neighbors had some relatives over, and if so, if they had a boy that looked like what we described. She said, not that she knew of. Well, the next day, we go over to the neighbor's trailer and asked them if they had anyone over that looked like what we saw. They said no. We've had no visitors in 2 weeks, and no, we have no boys or children like what you described. My nephew and I then noticed there were 2 girls in the living room. We confirmed that that was the only children they had. So, who or what could have been? Where did it go? We didn't hear it go in the neighbor's home that night, so maybe it was just a strange neighborhood kid and went through their backyard to where they were going. Well, that would have been very difficult since the neighbors have one of those extremely high wooden fences with no doors on it in their backyard. Besides, why would it go through the trouble of going up into their porch when they could have gone around? It's an old trailer park, and there's no telling how many people have lived and died in a lot of those trailers. I'm just glad I don't live there. Something and everything about this is strange, and what we saw that night, I know in my heart that it was not normal, but paranormal. I'm just glad the figure never turned around to look at us. I don't know what would have happened then. I'd hate to find out. My name is Paul, and I live in Canada, in the province of Nova Scotia, in a small city called Sydney. This small city was at one time an industrial center with coal mines and a large steel plant that employed thousands. This area's past employment promises has drawn in many foreigners to settle here, and we have a rich history of superstitions and beliefs. I should say that I'm not exactly a believer in ghosts, although I have an open mind to the idea that there may be something to it at all. Anyway, on with my story. I think I was 17 or 18 when this happened, which was around 1987. I was working for my local McDonald's restaurant and was working until 2 a.m. It was shortly after midnight when I took a break and called my girlfriend to say goodnight. As we talked, she stopped to see if someone had come down the stairs from the second level of her parents' home because she thought she had heard footsteps. She checked the stairs twice, but nobody was there. The conversation turned to the fact that at times, she would hear sounds in the house as though someone was walking the stairs. Our topic then returned to the normal teenage babble until she happened to look into the adjacent room. She thought she saw someone sitting at the end of the sofa. She put the phone down momentarily while she turned on the light in the darkened room. It was only a sweater and a jacket laid over the backrest of the sofa, so we resumed our conversation once again. I can tell you that she had no thoughts of anything paranormal. She was thinking that maybe someone else was home, other than her sleeping parents, as she had a number of older brothers still living at home. I can remember that as we talked, she stopped dead in mid-sentence and started to weep. I was wondering what was wrong, thinking that I had said something to upset her. When I got her to speak, she told me that there was someone there, standing in the doorway of the room where she had just been. She sobbed that she was trying to sit very still, in the hopes that this apparition would not see her and just go away. I tried to talk to her and settle her down, not quite sure if this was a joke or not. I think that the figure stood in this position for at least 5 minutes. Then, just when my terrified girlfriend calmed down a little, the figure moved into the hallway and assumed a sitting position, legs crossed. I again had to try and calm her down by talking to her and asking her to describe what she was seeing. The figure, she said, appeared to be a boy of about 8 or 10 years old. He was wearing a modern-looking winter jacket and a winter hat. She said that although the facial features were not plain, the eyes could be clearly seen and were blue. The hands and feet area of the figure faded out of sight. This boy sat on the floor, not 10 feet from her, and looked right at her. Another minute or two passed, and then my girlfriend started weeping again. I remember her whispering, "Oh, Paul, it's a girl." She told me that the figure had reached up and pulled a hat off its head, and long blonde hair flowed from under it. The figure sat and stared in my girlfriend's direction a few minutes more, and then appeared to stand up and go back into the room where it came and disappeared. My girlfriend stayed on the phone just long enough to be sure it was gone, Then she hung up with me and ran for her parents' bedroom. That was the end of the experience, and had lasted about 15 minutes. She asked her parents the next day if they could think of who this may have been. They had no ideas and probably didn't believe her. I wasn't quite sure if I believed her either, and I kept asking her if she was playing a joke on me. She insisted she saw what she saw, and she wasn't comfortable talking about it for fear that it may reappear. I'm now married to my girlfriend, and she still swears every word of this is true. She still doesn't like to talk about it. No one has ever seen a ghost in that house before, or since, that I'm aware of. My wife over the years has gotten spooked, and came running to me saying that she felt uneasy, and was afraid she was back, but she hasn't been. I don't know if you respond to these letters or not, but if you do, write me a note to tell me what you think. Thank you for reading. Hey Phantoms, first of all, a quick disclaimer here. My voice isn't 100%, and so I sound like kind of horse crap, but I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in again, and thank you for being so patient as I wait to unleash another video for you guys. As always, please comment, share, and like this video. I did the best regarding the circumstances. A lot of setbacks this past weekend, and week for that matter. I don't even know why I said weekend, but just week. But I finally got the video out to you guys, and I'm so glad. I'm so humbled that you guys still watch me, and I'm thankful. Well, at least I hope I am being watched. Kind of like a stalker watches its prey. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. Stalking is not good. Anyway, guys, love you so much. I don't want to ruin my voice any more than it needs to, and I hope you guys had a fantastic day. I hope whenever you're watching this, you can get some sort of relief out of it. If it improves your day, that's awesome. Hopefully I did a good job, and guys, let me hear in the comments section how you're doing. I want to hear from you. I want you to share this video and like it and be a little pancake for me so I can eat you. I don't know what that means, guys. Okay, I'll still put in a little bit of humor here. I'm trying, guys, but love you. Gotta go, and I'll see you in the next video.